I must confess to having been utterly stupefied by news that Democratic functionaries had in fact been those in collusion with Russian operatives with the objective of sabotaging the campaign of Donald Trump in the 2016 general election, after having crafted the narrative that the Trump campaign had colluded with said Russian operatives with the objective of sabotaging Hillary Clinton's campaign. On numerous occasions over the years, I have cited the phenomenon of projection with regard to the modus operandi of those on the political left. Projection is the practice of accusing an opponent of engaging in unsavory acts in which one is himself engaging. Students in the field of psychology usually learn about projection during their first undergraduate semester, and while engaging in projection is not indicative of any kind of psychological pathology per se, it does indicate a mind that operates on a very superficial or base level, and there are several forms of mental pathology that do include projection as a symptom. This is one reason I shudder when leftists level charges of conservatives being violent, or having a secret desire to kill off all liberals. Given this proclivity for projection coupled with the murderous history of leftist regimes, only an extremely dense or imprudent individual would let such accusations slide by without sober consideration. To recap, toward the end of last week, we learned that the law firm that represented the Hillary Clinton campaign and the Democratic National Committee secured the services of two organizations that were ostensibly engaged to investigate alleged Russian hacking into DNC servers, but which also reportedly amassed intelligence that gave rise to the now discredited dossier claiming that President Donald Trump's campaign colluded with Russian interests. The aggregation of this so-called intelligence itself evidences collusion with Russian interests by the DNC, the Clinton campaign, and the Obama administration. It has been established that shady Russian operatives approached the Trump campaign in 2016 on the pretext of their having dirt on Hillary Clinton that might have proved useful to Trump. It now appears that these were in fact dispatched by the Clinton campaign so that the Trump campaign might later be accused of having met with shady Russian operatives. So, back to the original cause for my stupefaction: could these leftist power players really be so mind-blowingly stupid that they would call attention to the very illegal acts they had committed by making baseless accusations of the very same acts against a political opponent, while there are certainly prominent players on the left who've demonstrated that they're only one or two notches above being out-and-out mental defectives reps? Hank Johnson, Nancy Pelosi and Maxine Waters spring to mind. We can be reasonably certain that Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama and those in their inner circles are not among these. So, what was the motivation if not stupidity? Some may posit that in attempting to frame Trump for collusion with Russia, these parties were acting out of desperation, since much of the hyperbole we've heard against the Trump administration in recent months has indeed been born of desperation, but the more preposterous and incendiary offerings we've heard have typically been floated by lower-level Democratic operatives, the press and the aforementioned borderline mental defective I mentioned. The answer to my question is, I believe, more unfortunate than mere stupidity, and represents far more danger to this nation in the long term. I believe that, in the case of such as the Clinton spill and Hillary, to be clear, the DNC and Obama, while concocting their nefarious designs, the notion of being held accountable at some later time simply does not exist. Think about it: when have these entities ever been held accountable for anything? We can look to the multiple scandals in which the Clintons have been involved, going back to their time in Arkansas and the White House. We can look to the serial treason, illegal governance and conspiracies on the part of the Obama administration and in which Hillary Clinton was party to crimes. Finally, we can look to the complicity of high-ranking Republicans in obscuring or ignoring these transgressions. In general, even the most noxious of these far-left operatives can count on powerful Republicans to come to their aid when necessary in the name of preserving the Beltway and deep state cultures of corruption. The common denominator is that there has never been a calling to account for any of the perpetrators. In short, they just don't care. Progressive politicos believe they can get away with anything, and the evidence indicates that they do so with very good reason. In the Russia collusion case, we might look to an Obama-appointed judge and former Obama donor, who just ordered the banking records of Fusion GPS sealed, this being one of the outfits engaged by the Clinton campaign and the DNC, whose intelligence contributed to the Trump dossier. The measure effectively insulates Obama, Hillary Clinton and the FBI from further scrutiny with regard to the ongoing investigation. All things considered, I fear that the depth of entrenchment of these scoundrels indicates that it will take far more than a determined Trump administration to extricate the more putrefactive elements from the proverbial Washington swamp. Further, I fear what far more portends, and if the American people will even have the belly for it,